Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK journey video. In this video we have an exciting one. We're going to be making a Paragon tier list for all of the heroes in the game. Basically the highest ranking will be the heroes which are the most important for you to ascend to Paragon on your account. Now before we get into this, my overall disclaimer, and I've made a video about this as well, is that Paragon is a minor upgrade and it is mainly a PvP focused upgrade, and it is not necessary on your account at all. You can do really well in all areas of the game, even with Supreme Plus heroes. And the other thing is, when you're going for Paragons, it's a really heavy investment. For example, for an S level hero, even to Paragon 1 from Supreme Plus requires 6 copies, and it would require 8 copies to build a hero from scratch to Supreme Plus. So just keep that in mind. My overall opinion is usually try to get more heroes on your account to Supreme Plus rather than forcing Paragon on certain heroes. However, over your time playing, eventually it's inevitable you are going to get Paragon upgrades, and there's certain heroes you're going to need to put on your wish list and prioritize the Paragon. And also for the Dream Store, you're going to have a lot of Dream currency, and you need to decide which A-level heroes should I prioritize the Paragon. So that's why we're making this video. But just, I don't want you to feel any pressure that you have to spend or you have to get these Paragon upgrades, and it's really important. These are minor boosts, even the PvP related. So I just want to briefly talk about what boost you're getting for one Paragon Ascension. The hero will gain around 2.5% of their attack stat, physical and magical defense stat, and HP stat per Paragon Ascension, and this will apply all across the game, PvE and PvP. So the players who have like Paragon 4, for example, Fresto, Smokies, they're going to be top of the chart of your Dream Realm damage, and you can't even get close to that because they're going to have a 10% almost increased stats compared to you at a Supreme Plus hero, because it's 2.5% per level. You can exactly calculate this if you go to your hero and you check, even if you don't have the copies needed to ascend, if you click on that button and you're able to, and you have the next tier unlocked, it will tell you the stat boost you're going to get, and you can just take the gain and divide it by the original stat amount, and that will give you a percentage, and it's around 2.5%. Now, the other stats you gain for Paragon are rivalry stats specific only to PvP. And even for PvP, these are not hugely noticeable changes. For example, Supreme Plus heroes can beat Paragon 1 heroes. There's not a huge difference. But the problem is when someone has a lot of tiers ahead of you, like Paragon 3 compared to your Supreme Plus, things really begin adding up. And it gets kind of out of control. And that is why you're not really able to compete when someone is a lot of tiers higher than you. So overall, I'm just going to briefly summarize it. There is their energy modification effects. That is one portion of the Paragon rivalry stats, and that will cause you to deal basically you to gain slightly more energy when you take a hit, and also and your hit onto the enemies will cause them to gain slightly less energy. It's by 15% modification. It isn't a huge amount per Paragon tier. Number 2, you're going to have increased effect of your duration of your debuffs and control effects increased by 6%, and you're going to be 6% more resilient. So for example, enemy debuffs are going to affect you for 6% less duration. Again, this is kind of minor. 6% is not a huge amount. And then finally, what I think is the most important of the rivalry stats is the damage reduction and damage bonus. You deal 6% bonus damage to the opponent, and you take 6% reduced damage from them. I think that is the most notable of all of the Paragon upgrade stats for PvP, and it really adds up when you have multiple tiers. So that is it. So first thing to mention is Paragon upgrades, the priority should be on your PvP heroes, because if it's for example, a PvE hero, you're not going to get value of the rivalry stats. You're only doing it for the base stats of 2.5%, which is so minor, and for 6 copies, unless you're a very heavy spender, it doesn't make sense. So in my opinion, the heroes which are PvE focused and pretty much primarily PvE, these are not going to be priority to Paragon. You want to Paragon your PvP heroes. And even within PvP heroes, you want to Paragon the damage dealers. Why the damage dealers? Because they get more benefit from the rivalry stats. Like if you're talking about a tank, like let's say Granny. Granny, I mean, she can deal some decent damage, but not really, she's not a damage dealer. Giving her the 6% damage boost is kind of like a wasted stat on her. Same for Haywin. If we look at Haywin, if you upgrade her Paragon tiers, she's going to get damage reduction, which is great for a supportive healer. But her damage boost is, again, a wasted stat because she doesn't deal much damage. So with that intro covered, we're going to get right into the tier ranking. So we'll start in the order that I've uploaded these images with Scarlita. So she's a Celestial Hypogean. She's a top tier PvP hero. She can knock enemies off of the battlefield. If you can give her a damage bonus, it will allow her to hit harder, which is one of her important roles. And if you can give her damage reduction, it will allow her to survive longer, to have more chances of activating her skills to knock off enemies. So in every way, Scarlita is a top tier choice for your upgrade to Paragon tier, because she's a top tier PvP hero and she's a damage dealer. So she is definitely going to be in the S tier for heroes you want to take to Paragon upgrades. But again, this does not mean, for example, you try to get Scarlita to Paragon 1 before you build out your other important Celestial Hypogeans like Rainier to Mythic Plus, Fiasco to Supreme Plus, Talene to Supreme Plus. These are all more important. When you have all of those covered, then you can consider this. So I just need to throw that disclaimer in there, because basically don't make the mistake I did. I have Paragon 2 Scarlita, even 2 out of 6 going to Paragon 3, and I don't have, my Talene's at Mythic Plus, and for a long time she was Epic Plus at the beginning of this season. So just don't make that mistake. Okay, now next up, Diurnal. Diurnal is, again, like Scarlita, top tier PvP hero, and he is a pure hard-hitting nuclear damage dealer. The more damage boost you can get him, the better he'll be. The more like energy modification effects he has to charge up faster, the better he'll be. So definitely, and you also want the damage reduction to keep him alive for longer. So definitely he's a top tier hero to upgrade for the Paragon tiers. Okay, next up we have Dunlinger. Now Dunlinger, look, Dunlinger is a top tier PvP hero, but again, he's a tank. His damage boost is going to be wasted on him. Damage reduction can be nice, energy modification effects can be nice, but overall, I would not consider him a priority to Paragon. Like, if you can get every hero leveled up, then of course, but I would say, honestly, you can leave Dunlinger at S+, because he is going to be tanky enough at Supreme Plus. He gets his whole job done at Supreme Plus. He's mainly a supportive tank for your team. Tanks don't have huge difficulty surviving, and even if you got him up the Paragon tiers, like 6% bonus damage reduction, it's not going to make a big difference until you have many Paragon ascensions. So I would say fine to leave him at Supreme Plus, but he could be a candidate, but I'm going to leave him here for right now. Maybe I'll move him up later on. Okay, Talene. So Talene. Now, some people are huge fans of Talene in PvP, and I can understand their opinion, especially now with the special Arena 5 map. With the energy tiles, she is a very dominant force, and giving her that Paragon Ascension is going to give her a damage boost and also other valuable effects. So I would say, yeah, she is an S hero for the Paragon Ascension because she's just a top tier PvP hero. Okay, next up we have Burial. Now, I'm not, like, there's some heroes which I'm not going to have that much experience with, so I'm going to try to make a guesstimate. Burial is a PvP hero. That is his main use in the game. Now, I'm not going to put him in the S tier because I just don't find him as dominant as the other heroes we have in the S tier for PvP. So I'll say he is a good hero to get to Paragon upgrades, but I think you can do him after the other ones are all leveled up. So I would say Burial in the A tier. Not as important as Diurnal, Talene, and Scarlita, who are much more important for their Paragon Ascensions because they're going to carry your account more than, in my opinion, ascending the Burial. Okay, next up we have Rainier. So Rainier is a support. He's not going to get a huge value from the damage boost of the Paragon stats. When you get him to Supreme Plus, he is going to give like a slightly bigger amount of attack to the position swap ally, but this is not a priority. And just keep in mind, this tier list is not saying where you should get these heroes to optimally. Like, Rainier is done and complete at Mythic Plus. You do not need to take him to Supreme Plus. But in terms of Paragon, basically, he's the lowest priority. Along with, like, we have Dunlinger here. But maybe I'll move Dunlinger out of here. So just keep that in mind. Okay, next up we have Fiasco. So Fiasco is a tank, but when you see his damage output, even in PvP, he deals damage like a damage dealer, especially because you have 2 heroes instead of 1. So I actually want to put him in the S tier for Paragon Ascension, like not as high as Talene. I'm going to put him behind Talene. I'm going to try to put them in order of importance. But Fiasco is pretty important because, and also by getting the Paragon Ascensions of him, it'll help you in PvP, but also it will help you slightly in Dream Realm. Like, again, if you can get extra Paragon tiers, it will give the hero overall increased percentage base stats, and that will cause him to deal more damage in Dream Realm. So I would say Fiasco in the S tier, but after Talene, because he's not like a dedicated damage dealer, he's a tank. Okay, Cassidy, I would say leave at Supreme Plus, because she is not a necessary PvP hero. She mainly is only for certain niche bosses like the Primal Lord we had, and in Dream Realm bosses she just isn't quite good enough to be the best in slot hero anywhere. But I think there could be some bosses in the future where she could be good, but she's not a PvP hero. She's not great in PvP, so do not take her past Supreme Plus, in my opinion. Vala is a good PvP hero. I'm not gonna put on the S tier because those are like the top tier, most important priority. I'm gonna put her in the A tier because I think there's a good place for her. If you get Paragon Ascensions on it, the damage boost will help her. And damage reduction will also help her. She's getting a lot of value from the rivalry stats. So, and she is overall a good hero you can run on your Supreme Arena defense, and she's great on offense. So I would say, yeah, A tier. Okay, so Rowan, he is a meta PvP hero, but he's a support. So he doesn't need the damage boost. That will not help him pretty much at all. But the damage reduction, other stats can be useful. So I think actually what I'm going to begin to do is the heroes which don't need Paragon Ascension but are meta in PvP, I'm going to move them to the C tier. So I'm going to have to move Dunlinger and Rainier up. Now, again, Rainier is fine at Mythic Plus, but like for the purpose of this Paragon tier list, I think that we should have him in the C tier because he's a PvP support, or like Dunlinger is a PvP tank who doesn't get a huge value from Paragon Ascension, but they are meta in PvP, and so every Paragon upgrade is going to help them, but they're like the lowest priority. Basically, the leave at Supreme Plus are the heroes which are, in my opinion, not relevant at all in PvP. So next we have Atalanta. She is not a use hero at all, so I'm going to put her in the leave at Supreme Plus and not even think about it again. Temesia, I'm going to put in the C tier because she is a little bit relevant in PvP. She is good in like the Lightbearer Tassi comp, for example. She has crowd control. If you can get her Paragon Ascended, she deals decent damage as well, so damage boost will help her a bit, and damage reduction will definitely help her. So we'll leave her in C tier. She's not a top priority, but could be good to upgrade. I think what's going to happen with this tier list, a lot of heroes are going to end up in the C tier because a lot of heroes are usable in PvP, but just won't benefit that much from the rivalry stats. Okay, next we have Brutus. So Brutus is a hero that, again, is a tank. He deals some damage, but that isn't his major role, and he's functional even without any Paragon upgrade. He's a hero that like is a one copy wonder as well. But again, with Paragon, he's going to deal a bit more damage, take a bit less damage, so I'll put him in the C tier for that. Dumont, also the C tier, because he's a tank, so he won't get value from the damage boost, but the damage reduction is going to give him value in PvP. And so I do think that having Dumont Paragon upgraded, it can help you. And I think he can actually deal some decent damage with his knockup, especially on the Mauler buff tiles. So yeah, I think C is a good place for him. Not needed at all, but he is he is becoming a bit of a relevant PvP hero. Okay, Smokey. Where do we put Smokey? I think Smokey, look, the thing is, for PvP, it's not going to help him. Also, like, the damage boost only helps once a blue aura is casted for PvP, and usually a fight is already decided by that point. With that being said, I don't know, I want to put him a bit higher than the other ones. I don't want to put him in C tier, I want to put him in B tier because it will help you also in Dream Realm. And so, for example, if you're working on different heroes to get to Paragon 1 and you don't know what to choose next, just doing Smokey, even if he's not so important in PvP, he is going to help you do a little bit better in Dream Realm, but with the 2.5% bonus stats. And in PvP, he's not bad. Like, he is in Mauler buff tiles, he's actually good to be placed on those, and in other teams, he's fine. He's just not a top tier option. The damage boost would only be effective if you can get him to cast his blue aura in a fight, but I'll put in the B tier for right now. Reese, he's not really a meta PvP hero. Like, he would benefit from the damage boost because he is a damage dealer, but because he's not a meta hero, I'm not going to put him in above the C tier. I'm going to keep him in the C tier. Shakir is a top tier choice. Now the question is, top of A tier or end of S tier? I'm going to say the S tier. Honestly, I feel like Shakir is a really dominant hero. If you can get him the Paragon Ascension, he takes less damage. He also will deal more damage to the opponents. His energy modification will allow him to cast his ultimate faster. And once he casts his ultimate, he's basically like the tankiest hero in the game and provides you so much tankiness for your team. So I think he is a priority to Paragon, one of the top priorities. And either the top of A tier or end of S tier. Mikola is also a pretty big priority. I'm going to put Mikola at the end of A tier because she is fine in PvP. Again, you're not really doing it for the damage boost, although that will help you with the combat fury stacks. The damage reduction is also helpful for her because she has a difficulty surviving, and also she'll be better in Dream Realm if you get Paragon Ascension onto her. The question is she more valuable to Paragon than Smokey? I think so, because I think in PvP she is more relevant than Smokey. And both would improve your damage in Dream Realm. Smokey Paragon would improve damage more in Dream Realm compared to Mikola because Smokey's damage output is higher. But Mikola for PvP is more relevant than Smokey. So I'm going to put Mikola at the end of the A tier. Or at the top of the B tier. Both are fine. Elsa is pretty good in PvP. I think I have to put Elsa in the end of A tier. Paragon upgrades are going to boost her damage and cause her to take less damage. She's good in crowd control teams. And even knowing that on Mauler buff tiles, she can be good. We saw her with the Soren comp that Star-Lord was showing. Soren and Elsa on the Mauler buff tiles. Really, and with Almas, really locking down enemy teams. So I think she is a priority to Paragon and will be in the A tier, probably even above Mikola. Because Mikola is a support. And damage dealers take a priority in Paragon compared to that. But I mean, you could go for Mikola first. Like, personally, I would probably do Shakira and Mikola before Elsa because I'm a bigger fan of Mikola, but yeah. Okay, so next we have Haywin. Now, Haywin is a meta PvP hero. She won't get value from the damage boost, but the damage reduction can help her. Honestly, I want to put in the B tier as well. Potentially even Dunlinger can move up. So we'll be modifying basically the rankings of all of these heroes. Yeah, maybe Dunlinger should move up. The damage reduction will help him. Haywin is she's a meta PvP hero for stall teams. Even though she doesn't get a lot of value from the rivalry stats because she doesn't benefit from the damage boost, the damage reduction is going to help her a bit. So I consider somewhat of a priority, but not a top priority. Like, B tier are really heroes that, again, they do not need Paragon upgrade, but if you can get it, it's going to help them. A tier and above are really the heroes which would really like to get Paragon upgraded. Iron, I'm going to put in the A tier. Because he has fallen out of the meta more recently. Like, he's still good, but he's not top tier because of all the ways of making your heroes unaffected in this new season. With the buff tiles and Valor Shield spell, so his crowd control is weaker. But other than that, he has some damage output, so the damage boost will help him, and the damage reduction will help him survive for longer. Energy modification to cast ultimates more. So overall, I do think he is a pretty strong PvP hero. So I would say to A tier for him. Granny, like we said, I'm gonna put the end of the B tier. The damage reduction will help. Not even B tier. I'm gonna put her in the C tier because Granny is. Honestly, Granny is not that great of a PvP hero anymore because there's just so many other options to be running. Like, when you have limited options, she's good. But when you have, like, Thorin built, Freyasto built, you have enough tank. Brutus, you have enough tanks. There's not really any way to fit Granny into a team. So I would say C tier for her. Brian is like a low priority PvP hero. Like, if you could ascend him, he will do better in PvP, but he's not a top tier PvP option. But I'll keep him in the C tier because he is fine in PvP. Floribel, I'll put in the B tier. She's fine in PvP, even though I use her a lot on my Scarlet stall team. I don't necessarily think she's the strongest PvP hero out there. It's just kind of like she fits the Wilder buff tiles well and allows you to get that factional synergy. She's good in stall teams. Potentially you could put an end of A tier. Okay, I'll put an end of A tier because she is a damage dealer. The boost will help. Tassi, I'm gonna put the front of A tier, or maybe I think I'm gonna put Tassi in the end of S tier because Tassi is a hero that with that damage boost, that damage reduction, she can snowball in 1v5 teams at the end, and so she is kind of a top tier priority for PvP upgrades. So I would put her in the S tier. Lily May, here we have the #1 hero in the game, in my opinion, who is gonna be Scarlita. Get out, Scarlita. Wait, what? Okay, this is really weird. It's locked me in. I can't actually move the Lily May out of this position. The tier list doesn't want me to put her above Scarlita, but she's above Scarlita. Lily May is the most important hero in the game to get Paragon upgraded on your account because she is really strong in PvP. If you give her the damage boost, she can solo again just like Tassi can solo. And the damage reduction also will help her survivability as well. And also the Paragon Ascensions are going to help you perform better in Dream Realm. She's a top tier hero for 5 out of the 8 endless bosses of Dream Realm. And before getting to endless, she's one of the best options in all of the bosses. So Lily May, the stats on her from Paragon Ascension are useful. And also the the damage for PvP. So she's a top tier hero for Paragon Ascension, the most important basically non-celestial Hypogean hero in the game for the Paragon Ascension in my opinion. So, but I can't move, I want to move her in front of Scarlita, but basically just, they're both top tier, right? Okay, next up we have Thorin. So Thorin is really interesting. Now he is a tank, which also has good damage output. So the damage boost is useful on him. I would put him in the end of the S tier, not as important as Tassi, and arguably you could even put him at the top of the A tier. He's not necessarily the most important to have Paragon Ascended, but the damage reduction will help his survivability, the damage boost will help his damage reflect, which is pretty high already, so he has a kill threat, and so I think he's one of the tanks along with Fresto who are good for the Paragon upgrade. Okay, next we have Carolina. So Carolina is a decent PvP hero. I'm going to put her like around the Elsa tier. That is what I would recommend for Carolina, because if you ascend her, the damage boost will help. She's good in the Iron crowd control team, but apart from that, she's not like, again, she's having the problem in this season with all of the unaffected enemies. And even before this season, she wasn't really dominating as much as Elsa was dominating in the Iron team. So I should maybe put her behind Elsa. Okay, next up we have Igor. So Igor is like a stall-oriented hero. He can be fine for Paragon Ascension. I would put him at the end of the C tier. He's not a priority, but he's fine in PvP, so he should belong in the C tier. It's not like he's unused in PvP. CC I'm gonna have to put in the leave and S plus tier because she's just not a great PvP option. Other heroes are gonna be better than her. In the top ranks when people have other heroes built, they would never use, I've never seen people use CC anymore, but I've seen all of these other heroes, like for example in the CT and above, I've seen in top ranking like Supreme Arena defenses and things like that. So CC is just not worth upgrading to Paragon. Ludovic is pretty worth it. He's pretty worth it, and you know, my placement of some of these heroes might seem a bit questionable, and it's a bit about like a gut feeling as well. So Ludovic is good in like Tilene teams, healing them. He's good in stall teams. Also, he does good damage in Dream Realm bosses. To the King Croaker boss, he's the best in slot hero. So if you get Paragon upgrade, that will help you a little bit there. But again, we're not really upgrading these heroes for that Dream Realm use. And that's why Smokey is kind of low. Like if we were talking about Dream Realm use, then Smokey would be up in the A tier. But these stats are very negligible. They don't make a big difference for Dream Realm. But Ludovic, just having that damage reduction, he has decent damage output in his skill kit. So I'm going to put him, I'm going to put him in the B tier. He belongs here in my opinion. Okay, Nara. So Nara is an interesting hero. Like, I mean, of course, if you build her and you're using her and you want her to deal more damage, you need to put her in the A tier because she's a damage dealer for PvP. So I would put her at the end of the A tier. She's just not that meta of a PvP hero, especially on defense. She kind of suffers. So Muriel. Honestly, Muriel should not be used on your top lineups of heroes, so I'm gonna leave her in the leave at S plus tier because she is fine. She's a hard-hitting damage dealer, but there are much better options there. So do not begin getting like focus on getting her to Paragon. Same with Valen. These heroes should all be left in the lower tier. Now we get to Marilee, which is interesting. Definitely not going to be in B tier, but I'm going to put Marilee in C tier. And the reason for that, she's not good in PvP. But the thing is, you're going to have to get other heroes to Paragon to unlock future Paragon upgrades. Like, so if, for example, you want Paragon 2 unlocked, you need to get, I think, 20 heroes to Paragon 1. And so Marilee can be one of those. And by doing this, Marilee will get 2.5% bonus stats to do a bit better in Dream Realm. And she is still a good Dream Realm hero before getting to Endless bosses. And all, oh no, she's not. But she's good in Endless if you don't have all the like top meta teams. And really out of the light, actually, you know what? Maybe she doesn't even belong in C tier anymore. Because now they're better light bearers. There's Sinbad, there's Luca, there's Corrin. I think I have to move her down to the Supreme Plus. Because Corrin is just more value. Now, Lucius is interesting. He's been pretty important this season with the light bearer buff tiles. He was pretty important last season with the seasonal skill as well. Like, for both of those reasons, he would be a consideration for C tier, but he's just not the hero you want to be ascending to Paragon. So I'm going to leave him at Supreme Plus. He's good enough there. Now, Corrin, I'm going to put in the C tier. The reason for that, he's not bad in PvP. He's fine. He's good in certain Dream Realm bosses and Primal Lord and things like that. He was really needed for the Lightbearer buff tile team this season, but like in future seasons, I'm not sure if that will happen. But I just feel like overall, Corrin is a more solid PvP hero than Merrily, and both of them have Dream on boss uses or boss uses. So out of them, I would say Corrin is a more important Paragon priority than Merrily. But like in the early game, I went for Merrily and Corrin Paragon because we had those heroes were the best at the time. But now because we have Sinbad, right? If we didn't have Sinbad, maybe I would argue and put Merrily up in C tier. But Sinbad is a more priority of Paragon upgrade than Merrily because he's a PvP hero. Faye is going to be Supreme Plus, totally fine there. Walker is Supreme Plus, he's just for AFK stages. He's not great in PvP. Luca. Luca you can put in the C tier if you're a fan of Luca for Paragon upgrades because he's a tank for PvP. He's not bad. I do consider him better than Lucius, but you know, I want to be also a little bit strict with this list and not put like every hero up in the higher tier. So I'm going to leave him at Supreme Plus. He's fine there. Like to use his tanking capabilities is fine at Supreme Plus. He doesn't have major damage output. So no reason for the damage boost from PvP stats or Paragon stats. Now Sinbad, honestly, I'm going to put in the B tier. Maybe even A tier. I'm going to put him in the A tier because he's actually a pretty meta PvP hero you can run. I haven't seen many people run him effectively on their defenses. That's the major issue. He's mainly an offense hero, but we have Nari here too, who's also an offense hero. And I like Sinbad. I think Sinbad is for future seasons. I have a feeling that Sinbad is going to be a meta hero. So you should keep him on your wish list, even just a Supreme Plus. I'm not talking about Paragon, but I think he is a Paragon priority. But actually, you're going to be wanting Paragon priorities from your Dream Store. So I'm going to put Merrily in the C tier as well. Because you need to get Corrin, Merrily from the Dream Store. You can't buy Sinbad from the Dream Store. And then next priority, you could do Lucius. Lucius, I would be my third Paragon priority for Light Bearers if you want to go for a third one from the Dream Store. Like, not including the Sinbad. Okay. OD. OD is A tier for sure, but where would he fall? Above Carolina, yeah. Odie is really strong for PvP. He's great on offense. On defense, he's like lacking. However, in this season, he's even good on defense in the Mauler buff tiles with Resonating Spell. So I like Odie a lot. I think he's a great, and he also, if you Paragon ascend him, the stats are going to help you a little bit in Dream Realm. But again, they're only 2.5% stats per tier, but it will make a bit of a difference. And he will, he is used in some pre-Endless boss teams, like even the top performing teams. In Endless, he's not the best option if you have the other heroes built though. Seth. So Seth is actually a hero that is worth upgrading to Paragon. I'm going to put in the B tier because he is a damage dealer, but I don't consider him as important as like Sinbad and the other heroes we have in the A tier. So I'm going to put him in the B tier. Citrana. Honestly, I would not do Citrana. Like, some people are even using Citrana in different teams, but I feel like Seth is just the better choice. We can put Citrana in the C tier if we want, but I'm not a huge fan of Citrana. I think Seth would be a better, but Citrana can be C tier. Kruger, no. Kruger is purely a Dream Realm hero. He's not good in PvP. Do not Paragon ascend him. Coco is good. Coco, I'm actually going to put in the A tier. Even though Coco is a support, why do I like her so much to put her in the A tier? It's because, so heroes which are purchasable from the Dream Store, they're really easy to get Paragon upgrades, or they're easier. And so these heroes, I think, it's just going to be like, and if you get her that damage reduction from the Paragon upgrades, it's going to help you. Her damage output is not high, so that won't really help. But like energy modification, things like that, I think overall, Coco is a good choice for Paragon. I'm going to put it end of A tier, but you could put it, actually no, we'll put it top of B tier. Yeah. She's kind of like the Smokey tier, but Coco is more relevant in PvP. Smokey is more useful in Dream Realm. Entendre can be C tier. Definitely above some of these other heroes here, like definitely above Citrana in my opinion. But not a big priority because she is a tank. Okay, so Laika. Laika will be... Laika can also be in the C tier. She's meta in the diurnal nuke team as a supporter, but she can do her job even at Supreme Plus. You don't need to get her Paragon upgraded. But if you wanted to, then it's fine. She is a damage dealer, but doesn't contribute that much damage. Soren, I'm going to put higher. Soren, I'm going to put above the Seth. And this is thanks also to Star-Lord's video, because he really showed the potential of Soren. And I think when the charms, the Mythic Plus charms come out, and Soren has that boosted skill power, I think Soren is actually going to go crazy. Because his Repel Sweep, I think, is going to go down to 1 second cooldown, which is like that massive damage reduction and triggering a counter attack. So I think Soren is going to be great this season. And even before, like in just the Molly buff tiles, he was really good. Like him, Lumont, Almas, Elsa, like we were talking about, is a good team. So I would definitely put him above Seth in the priority. Like if we have Seth B, then Soren has to be above that. Arguably, maybe even in front of Coco. Maybe even in front of Coco, because he is a damage dealer. We'll put him there for now. Okay, now it's going to allow me to move Lily May to the front, right? Is it? No, this Scarlita is stuck. Okay, there we go. Lily May is on top where she belongs. Now we have Arden. So Arden, yes, top tier A-level hero for especially for Dream Store. I'm gonna put him even above, not above Elsa, but above the Odie, because he's more useful in PvP and on defense, in my opinion, than Odie. He does really well with Iron. He has issues this season because of all the crowd control meta, but he is overall a really good hero. Damien. Now this was the weird thing. Damien was my favorite hero, right? Because he's one of the best supports in the game. In my opinion, he is the best support in the game. But the thing is, he doesn't benefit that much from Paragon upgrades. He has some damage output with, like, especially his airplane skill, toy plane, but he's not a damage dealer. And the damage reduction would help him. Energy modification does kind of help him. But he's a B tier type hero. I would put him, like, around about Haywin. So I should not have, like, Damien was my first hero to Paragon 3. I should have gone Arden before Damien to Paragon 3, but I'm getting now Arden next up. Will be my next Paragon 3 hero. Well, actually third, because I got Thorn to Paragon 3 as well. But he'll be my next A-level Paragon 3 hero. Okay, so next up we have Khafra, who is a Supreme Plus hero, and even that is asking for a lot, because Khafra is not used anywhere. Parissa, yes, Parissa is not bad. I'm going to put her in B tier. Because she hits pretty hard. She has useful buffs for your team. There are definitely uses of her in Supreme Arena. I think she's not a bad option to Paragon. But I think the other heroes, there are a lot of better heroes than her. Lenya is a top tier. Now, the question is Supreme Lenya or A? Because Lenya has been dominating. But I'm wondering if it's only related to this season. Because of the buff tiles. Even before this season, she was used in teams. I'm gonna put Lenya in the end of the S tier, but no, I'm gonna put her in the beginning of the A tier. Yeah, I mean, she's around Vala level in my opinion. She's around Vala level, maybe potentially higher than Vala. Yeah, but she is good. Definitely a big priority for Paragon upgrade, but not top tier as the other heroes we have in the S tier. She hits really hard. She deals a lot of damage, and especially in this season on the Mauler buff tiles, she's pretty much unkillable as well. Paragon upgrades and all the exclusive equipment upgrades are going to help. So Almas, like, again, the Paragon upgrade, because he's a tank, right? He's not a top priority, because he will do his job and he will provide his Mythic Plus even without any Paragon upgrades. So I'm going to put him around the Dunlinger level. Like, he's a meta, top tier, pretty much top tier PvP hero, and Paragon would help him slightly, but because he's a tank, he doesn't really need it. Okay, next up we have Sylvina. Sylvina is, yes, she's going to be in the A level, like, she's a top tier priority for Paragon because it will allow her to hit harder and take less damage, and she's really good on offense. And in Clash runs, she's even good on defense, your formations, because the opponents can't, like, plan attacks into you. Nero and Salazar, I'm going to put both in the Leva S+, because they're only heroes you're going to build for, like, maybe future game modes which utilize them. They're not really good in PvP, they're not good in PvE, they're not good anywhere right now. And finally, Viperon. So Viperon is fine for PvP. Like, I would put him around the Seth level with Parissa. Like, he's a fine option as a damage dealer in PvP, but he's not a top tier option. There are other better teams you can be using, but he's good with Ludovic. He can hit pretty hard and be sustained up. So overall, I'm pretty happy with how this tier list is looking. As you can tell, of course, the heroes which are damage dealers get a big priority for the Paragon, like the higher tier of Paragon tier list, because they will get value of the damage boost. The supports don't get as much value of the damage boost, and that is why support heroes are not really going to be found in the top ranks other than Mikola, because Mikola, I just feel like her damage is decent, and importantly, if you can keep her alive in that courage sphere on your allies, it is huge value for your team. So that is why I think, and also the Dream Realm stats are going to be a minor upgrade as well. but that's not really the main reason we're doing it. So anyway, guys, I hope this was helpful and good luck with this tier list. But basically, from this, what we can like analyze is that Lily May, Shakira, Tassi, Thorin. These are the S level heroes, the top tier heroes you'll want to keep on your wish list in order to get them to the Paragon Ascensions. And for example, if you only have to choose one, Lily May is number one. If you have to choose two, you can choose between Tassi or Shakira. It's up to you. I personally feel like Shakira is a bit better. And then Tassi and Thorin after that. And for the Celestial Hypergenes, I think Scarlet is the most important. Then Diana is second most important. Then Talene, then Freyasto. But it also comes down to preference a bit. But overall, I'm happy with this. I'm pretty like... I mean... At the beginning, we were a bit confused. Like, I was confused where to put the Dunlinger. But I'm happy with him now in the B tier. With some other meta PvP tanks. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Again, Paragon is not essential, but these are the heroes, in my opinion, which are the top priority for Paragon upgrades. And even now the A levels, you can see them here as well, that you can get from the Dream Store for your upgrades. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. That is going to be it for this one. I'll hopefully see you guys in the next video. Let me know what you think about this tier list, if any hero should be in a different position, because everyone has different experience with the different heroes. Like, I'm based on all of the experience I have, this is my opinion, but I could be off on certain things. But thanks for watching, guys. I'll hopefully see you in the next video. And until then, everyone, peace out for now.